Welcome back to the Gratu Orloff Show, March 3rd, 2021, here on the Gratu Orloff Broadcasting Network. It's episode 311, something like that. Yesterday, it was, I think they call it Read Across America. They do it every March 2nd on Dr. Seuss's birthday, and it's a day when I think it's called Read Across America. And the President of the United States always talks about books that are good for kids to read. And of course, they always mention Dr. Seuss. I mean, that's why they do it on March 2nd, because it's his birthday. Well, yesterday, President Joey B. did not mention Dr. Seuss. And they chose his birthday, of course, to cancel Dr. Seuss and say, well, 6 of his books are completely obscene and horrible and should not be seen by children. And they actually stopped publishing them. And I hear that on eBay, there are some people trying to gouge people for thousands of dollars for those 6 books. But trust me, any librarian in elementary school or kindergarten, they're not going to be using any Dr. Seuss books from here on out because he's been officially canceled. A lot of it has to do with how I think there are like stereotypes of Chinese in these books, and then I think a lot of it they've gone back to before Dr. Seuss was doing children's books, and he was an illustrator during World War II, and they found his illustrations that show the extreme stereotypes that were common at the time during World War II of the Japanese, and then they're saying, well, he's a horrible man. But Dr. Seuss was actually an ultra-liberal and completely, the Lorax is all about ecology, and then his book, The Sneetches, was all about the stupidity of racism. I mean, as obvious as the Frank Gorshin episode of Star Trek. I mean, it was that, whether one group of Sneetches has stars on their belly or something, and the other doesn't. I don't know. It's been a while since I read that. Anyway, Dr. Seuss was not a racist, and he was not a bad man. In fact, he was a genius. But here's the thing. They don't want kids reading old children's books. They just do not want that. And in 2009, first year of Obama's presidency, in fact, they came out and said, children's books printed prior to 1986 had trace elements of lead in the ink, the printer's ink that printed the words, not the illustrations. It was in there when the actual type set, the words, had traces of lead. And, children may actually start sucking on the pages, and then that will cause them massive brain damage, much like Gratu Orloff has. So they didn't want these children to become like Gratu Orloff, so therefore they said, well, you cannot sell these books anymore to children. And so I remember at the time thinking, well, half-price books isn't going to be able to sell these old children's books that I love from the 50s, the golden books, the big little books, all these wonderful books. They're not going to be able to sell them anymore. Oh, and then they were saying, if you have a garage sale and you sell an old book, you could be fined thousands of dollars. I mean, you're committing a horrible crime. So that's kind of been forgotten about. They never really, as far as I know, they never really enforced it. They said, well, used bookstores, they later clarified it, used bookstores don't have to actually test the books, but they shouldn't be selling them. I don't know. The half-price books near me still sells old children's books, and it hasn't affected me. I don't know if comic books, which we focus on a lot here on this channel, I don't know if old comic books had the that kind of ink in them. I don't know. But what was there, and we know that the, the government doesn't really care about your health. So, what was their real motivation in that whole uh, boondoggle? It's that they don't want kids exposed to the past. The past is bad. You only need to focus and think about what's going on right now and focus on the programming that we are feeding into your head. You don't need to see these old books. You don't need to see that at one time mommy stayed home and took care of the kids. And you don't want to see that the dad comes home from work and you've got to Leave It to Beaver, A Little World, and the Dick and Jane books. They don't want you to see that. In the libraries, when I was a kid, I liked the old books. I liked the old science books. I liked the books about space travel that were printed in the 50s. And I was in school in the 70s, and they would say, someday man will land on the moon. And they'd show what the spaceships look like with these big globe, it was like a stick with these big round, it was just like nothing that they ultimately look like, or they just were just the most amazingly cool rocket ships. And these were predictions made in the 50s. I love to see how did the past predict what our present would be like. That's fascinating to me, but they don't want you to see that. Why is that? Why were they trying to cancel all books printed before 1986? So you'd only focus on their woke reality of today. They don't like the past. They'll tear down every statue, anything of the past. They don't want you to see. The comic books that we collect, especially the ones printed during World War II, would be extremely problematic to these this woke band of fascists that want to censor the past. But what we are as comic collectors, you tell people, hey, I'm a comic book collector. They say, yeah, you're not a comic book collector. You are a museum curator. Some of you have bigger museums than others. You might have like a Smithsonian level museum of comic books. And maybe you collect other kinds of pop culture. Or maybe you're only focused on comic books, but you're doing a tremendous service to society and to future generations. And you have these comic books from the 1940s and 50s because there was, unless you're older and you bought them when you were a kid, this one or two or maybe as many as 10 people have preserved these comics, and now you're the current custodian of these treasures, and then they'll move on. Hopefully when you pass away, your spouse or children won't just toss them in a dumpster. Hopefully they'll wind up in the hands of someone else that will preserve them, and you're a museum curator. But there are people that do not want you to be saving this stuff. They don't want anyone to know what the past is like. So they'll keep canceling and censoring and doing whatever they can to stop it. But we're the curators. It's almost like Fahrenheit 451, where the people each take one book. They memorize the entire book and walk around chanting it, and then they have to teach it to a young child so that then they become that book, because all books are burned in this future dystopian society. But you are a preservationist. You are conserving something, which is why I talk about politics too much on this channel, I know. But it's, you don't get a lot of flack. You get a few people unsubscribing because, honestly, most people that collect old comic books are conservative. They may not want to admit it, possibly for survival reasons. But most people are going to be conservative if they collect comic books, because you're conserving something. You are loving something from the past. And it's not just the comics, because, on this channel I look at the ads, and the ads are wonderful. It's just why as much as I love all the reprintings and the omnibuses are wonderful, I can't afford many of them, but they don't reprint the ads. The ads are important. They're part of a snapshot, a sociological snapshot of what life was like at that time. And life was, in most ways, better at that time, in the 40s, 50s, and into part of the 60s. And people will say, well, there was this problem, and there's this problem. Yeah, there were problems, but they weren't problems like they are today. There was a time, and I remember the time when I'm going out, Mom and Dad, and I'd just get on my bike, close the garage door, and I'd be gone for hours and hours. Now kids don't even leave the house. And over the last year, they couldn't even if they wanted to because of these things. A wonderful thing, though, these are, as of next Wednesday, the rule is no longer in effect that you have to wear these stupid things in stores and theaters. I would never go to a movie theater and sit for 2-3 hours if it's a long movie with this on. I can't do it. I can't. Going into a grocery store for 5 to 7 minutes with this thing on, it's horrible for me. Maybe it's not for maybe some people don't mind. Some people love these things. It's like, this is a wonderful thing to a large part of the population. They love them. And I tell you, next Wednesday will be fascinating sociologically. I'm going to get out with this camera, with this phone, and show you what the world's like, because there will be people not wearing them, but there are people that are going to wear these for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives, they're going to wear these, and it's going to be just, it's going to be their like the hippies that continued to wear their hair long, way past when everyone else did. They're still going to wear these to just show I'm down with what they did to us. I love it. This was a horrible thing, what they did to us. This was, I was at my doctor for a physical in June, and I said, well, doctor, do you think this was man-made? I mean, this thing that we're having to... And he says, oh, no, absolutely not. It was just, you eat a bat, And I'm thinking, okay, my doctor, I don't know about this doctor. I've been going to it for a bunch of years, but... And I said, well, I mentioned Bill Gates, and he said, Bill Gates is, Billy G, is one of the greatest, how did he phrase it? He didn't say humanitarian, global citizens, that's what he says, one of the greatest global citizens of all time, and what he's doing with these, is wonderful. See, we don't have freedom of speech, so I don't want to say certain words. As I see the other YouTubers, and they have to talk in code words because they're afraid of the A. And, okay, so, and it's like, and he says, that's one of the biggest banes of my career is all these people that don't want to get the... for all these things, and it's like, I'm thinking, I don't know, man, I seems like I know more than this doctor, but I don't know. So, Dr. Seuss is canceled. What you need to do, I've got a lot of Dr. Seuss books, but it just makes me want to go out and buy more, especially those 6 that they aren't publishing anymore. I love Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss helped teach me to read. Anyway, we're preserving the past, and I see things change. I was going through. I've got a huge collection of National Lampoon. Now, that National Lampoon grew out of the Harvard Lampoon. Harvard, there's something called college humor. It's been around for years. When you're 18 through 22, you're 24, when you're in your college years, people tend to have a wild, crazy sense of humor. People that age are nuts. And so there's something called college humor. And it's sick and it's twisted. And there's actually a really good book here on this shelf. I bought this when it came out. It's called Hellbent on Insanity. And see how crazy these people in the 20s were, and in the 50s they would stuff telephone booths, so many people they could cram in there. People are nuts at that age. So what college? This has here's something about Dr. Seuss. It's a review of Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham, a hard-hitting novel of prose and poetry, was originally conceived in the early 60s during the height of anti-government sentiment. In our current atmosphere of rapidly changing international politics, the novel has taken on new significance. As were most of Theodore Geisel's earlier books, Green Eggs and Ham was published under the pseudonym Dr. Seuss, a name intending to invoke the respectability of graduate study with the omnipotent power of the Greek gods. Seuss's current work has been profoundly influenced by some of his earliest books, most notably The Cat in the Hat, On Beyond Zebra, and If I Ran the Zoo, in which he initially explores the dynamic rhyme schemes and bold imagery which reach a creative peak in Green Eggs and Ham. It is clearly one of the Doctor's finest pieces, and it goes on like that. But the thing about, for over 100 years, college humor magazines were, here's the Cornell Lunatic. Here's one that's often they're parody. They would do parodies, right? They'd make fun of the world. And really, these humor magazines in colleges predate all humor magazines. Mad Magazine, all of that. It started with, hey kids, make us rich and win these prizes. Beatles reunion. IBM 360 computer. Or you could get a nuclear sub. It's just, this is just articles from different colleges, because a lot of colleges had these humor magazines. Alright, so you see where a lot of the humor, and this one has a, what do we got? Sometimes they'll have parodies of comics. The Invincible Elephant Man. And these were just crazy college students. But this is a great collection. See if there's anything else. And and the thing about this, college humor is incredibly politically incorrect. Very politically incorrect. So there was one of these humor magazines done at Harvard called the Harvard Lampoon. Some of the graduates wanted to keep that going, so they bought the rights to the name, and they did the National Lampoon. Doug Kenny was the founder of the National Lampoon, and National Lampoon was great until, I don't know, when did it go bad? The mid-1980s? I don't know when they stopped publishing, but all through the 70s. It was great. And there was a great movie put out called National Lampoon's Animal House. Every other National Lampoon movie, to me, isn't really a National Lampoon movie. I guess the first Vacation movie was written by a National Lampoon writer, and Chevy Chase was one of the cast in the National Lampoon Radio Hour. So I guess you could make a case of Vacation, but there were all, other people bought the name National Lampoon, and the creators of the National Lampoon died young, and they lived wild lives. I've got a box here. This is apparently not my earlier, I don't know, everything's so confused in here, but the earlier National Lampoon magazines. When I find that, I'll show it to you. If I haven't already, I may have shown you the earlier National Lampoons. I think I did last summer. But let's take a look at some of these. And man, I was buying these in 6th grade. I'd buy them at the newsstand. I'd go to Lone Star Comics, and they'd sell me these back issues. I went to General Bookstore, which later became one of the locations of Lone Star Comics. And I don't think people knew what this was. The people that sold books, they didn't know what it was, but they might have thought it was something meant for kids, for all I know. But this is National Lampoon Christmas in December from December 77. Here's the January 58 issue. January 78 issue. Pharaoh Fawcett Majors. Yeah. Spring Fascism Preview. This issue, I bought another copy of it, that was in bad condition, so I could frame this parody. So anyway, that's kind of the humor we're talking about, and I'm surprised that this woke crowd hasn't caught up with National Lampoon's Animal House and tried to cancel that movie, because there's stuff in that movie, particularly the scene where the angel and the devil pop up on the lead character's shoulders. If you know the scene and what's going on in that scene, how is and then the scene where they go and see Otis Day and the Knights. I mean, it's I don't know how these woke people haven't flipped out. Here, how about that cover? They had theme issues a lot of times. This is the families issue. Yeah. Here's the June 78 issue. I need to put backing boards on these. Oh, here's one that's not not in a bag. Happy 100th anniversary. So they have 100 years of National Lampoon. This is supposed to be the issue of National Lampoon from 1860s. Oh, they have all the issues going back to the first issue. And they would have people like Frank Frazetta. See there, the alien crucified is Frank Frazetta. And yeah, it really was a great magazine. And trust me, but they could never do this today. Oh, this is about the time that Animal House came out. Yeah. I think Brooke Shields posed for this painting, if I'm not mistaken. July, August. I'm missing the September 78 issue. See the Wild Ferocious Mom, $1, one show only. I gotta get these out of the bags and reread them. So why am I going out and buying new stuff on Wednesdays at comic book stores when I got all this great stuff that I can just reread that I haven't looked at since, since over 30 years? I don't know. Let's take a look at a few more. And I bought all these as back issues, but the first one I ever actually bought off the newsstand was this issue, I think. And I was, I guess I was 14. I remember like being real nervous going up to the newsstand buying this because I felt like I was buying Playboy or a Penthouse, because there's a lot of nudity in these. Not a lot, but some. But I wasn't really sure how I would be greeted. But they sold it to me. I never had anyone not sell me a National Lampoon. I think some people don't know what Lampoon means, and they just think it's like a news magazine, like National Review or something. Unless they really look at the imagery on the cover and they realize, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't be selling this to a kid. Maybe, I don't know. National Lampoon, yeah. So, let me tell you something. You got kids in school that aren't attending school, that they're just doing Zoom meetings. They aren't learning anything, and they haven't learned anything in the last year. That's just a wasted year of their education. So I hope you have them reading a lot. I hope you're trying to supplement their education, because a lot of kids don't learn in school, and they're certainly not learning through these Zoom meetings. And there are teacher unions that don't want to go back. And mainly, when I was in school, I don't know, you can tell me, it might depend on how old you are. The classroom was arranged with rows of desks, and they would face the chalkboard or the teacher's desk. Sometimes the teacher's desk and the chalkboard, or the teacher's desk might be in the back, but you were in rows, right? Well, at a certain point in teacher school, when they teach upcoming teachers, they call those cemetery rows. That is the worst way you could arrange a classroom. If you arrange your classroom like that as a teacher, and the principal walks in, they say, "What are you doing? We're supposed to be doing cooperative learning." Well, when I was in school, about 3-4 times a year, maybe not even that much, a teacher will say, "Okay, we're going to do some group work," and they would randomly draw people and put them together, or you'd have to form your own group. And of course the popular people would all cluster together, and then, if you're unpopular, and I was not popular in junior high by any means, you'd wind up with whatever kind of people it didn't matter. You're in a group. And of course, I always hated that, because I would be the one that did all the work, because I wanted good grades. In retrospect, why did I even care? But I guess it was conditioned in my mind by my parents to get good grades. And it was just an expectation. It wasn't harped on me. I just knew I needed to get good grades. And so you do all the work, and you hated it. You hated group projects. And everyone I talked to was, yeah, I had to do all the work too. I hated it, you know. Well, they just coast and put their name on it at the end, because if they did any work, it would be shitty, and you just done, I'll just do it all. But now in schools, teachers are taught to cluster in groups of 4 and give each person in the group of 4 some kind of job, you know. One will be the recorder, and one person will be the materials facilitator, and all of that, you know, and you work together in a group of 4 on just about everything that you do. Now, the concept of being an individual, of working hard as an individual and getting something done on your own, has been forgotten, and it's now group work. You could call it socialism. A lot of teachers, many people that control the teaching schools are of that mindset. And there's teachers that are conservative, but they go along with the group work because they're conditioned. You got to do that, you know, you get a bad evaluation, whatever. So they do the group work all the time. And some kids really hate it. They just can't stand work because you're just assigned random people. And sometimes they'll put someone that's not, that learns kind of slowly, with someone that's a little more swift, with the thought that swift student will help this, because, you know, sometimes kids don't listen to teachers, but they'll listen to another student, and they think, well, that'll help them build their interpersonal skills, and they'll learn to work in a group, and because that's the way all these companies work. The iPhone that I'm recording this on, it's made in groups, right? People get together. It's not just one person that designs the iPhone. People together collaborate, because they call this collaborative learning. They collaborate and make things, and that's how the world works. But I guarantee you, at Apple, they don't just get a bunch of people at random. That you know, a slow person and a bright person, have them work together. All of them, they may be very diverse and be from different backgrounds, different religions, different ethnicities, whatever, but they have similar educational backgrounds. They have similar IQs, and they're all put together on a team to work on something, and then therefore it works. But you can't just assign random people together. Someone that someday will be a garbage collector with someone that may be a lawyer, and they're in the same classroom. Just put them together, and it's just going to work, and it doesn't really work. And some people just hate working with other people. They just... So, you know... And then when when you are in this little group of 4... kids, naturally, you're face to face with someone, right? You're gonna start chattering. Hey, did you see blah 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 last night? Yeah, it was cool. It was tight. Yeah. And you're just gonna be real hard to keep, when you have people face each other, to not do that, as opposed to all facing front towards the teacher. And then no matter where the teacher walks in the classroom, you've always got someone whose back is to you, because you had to cluster them in groups of 4. So you never have everyone facing one way. It's ridiculous. But anyway, my whole point in that is, how do you do when those students that are back at school have to maintain 6-foot distance, so the teachers can no longer do their socialist utopia teaching, because the kids are now individuals again, like they were in the 50s, 60s, and at least part of the 70s. So that may be why some of these teachers unions say, let's just stay out of school until we can go back and be back in our socialist utopia where everyone's in a group. Ah, well. Just remember, you're preserving history. These books, that's the other thing. In schools, librarians are taught to weed their libraries. Every few months, or at least every summer, they're supposed to go through and pull all the books that haven't been checked out or that are older. And they're supposed to just pull them out, and they're told they have to be discarded. They have to be thrown in a dumpster. They can't be sent off to another country where kids could learn English. They can't. They want them destroyed, put in a dumpster. I guess in theory they're afraid that someone will resell them and they'll wind up in a used bookstore and they'll still have the stamp of the school district on them. And then people say, "Hey, I paid my tax dollars for this book. Why to be used in a school? Why is it being sold to me?" And so some librarians will take a marker and where the school's name is stamped, they'll black it out, and then they'll give it to teachers to use in their classrooms, and they'll say, just between you and me, I don't want to throw these books in the dumpster. But that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to throw away all these old books. And you ask the librarian, they'll say, well, these older books, they have bad information. It's dated. It's they're no longer relevant. It's the whole thing. They want the past to disappear. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to know what the world used to be like. So when someone comes along like Donald Trump and they say, "Make America great again," they don't want people to know that America was ever great. They say, what you want to make it great again? Was slavery again? Because that's all they know about the past. All the average person knows about the past is, we had slavery, we had this, we had that. Horrible they only know the horrible things. They don't know the wonderful things of the past. They don't know any of it because it's been done away with. Forgotten, erased. Don't allow people to erase your culture. Keep preserving your museums of culture. God bless the hoarders. I know it's horrible, these people that have buried in trash. And I think I've got a little bit of that tendency. But I'm trying to get this organized. But it's the hoarders. It's only because of hoarders that you have your Action Comics #1 and your Showcase #4 encased in your plastic. Those were preserved somehow, and it wasn't just that they were handed from one kid and then they to another kid, and then they grew up and gave it to their kids, and they grew up and gave it to their kids, because those would have been destroyed. Somebody kept that comic from their childhood, and they kept it their whole lives, and then it was sold, or they passed away, then someone else got it and saved it, and now you're the current custodian of that stuff. Or you may have bought it, that comic, back in 1966 or 1973, and hey, I'm almost more convinced that when you have these backing boards, I see people do that. They write stuff on the back of the backing board. I think I'll pull out comics, on this channel. I'll say, I remember when I bought this. I remember exactly where I was. I probably should be writing that on the back of the backing board for a future person that will own this comic. Where it came from. I bought this in San Antonio in 3rd grade. It's like, I had to ask my mom for permission to buy it because she didn't let me buy just any horror. I don't know. Maybe they don't care. And then maybe put the name of the YouTube channel. Say, hey, you want to see me? I'm on this. Hopefully YouTube will still be around. YouTube's doing such stupid things that who knows. But, I kind of put up these videos as a diary, and maybe someday someone will watch this channel. Maybe after I'm gone, maybe this channel will become popular. But I'm actually up to 193 subscribers, and that's cool. I wish I could get up more, just because but It's better to have just a few subscribers that are loyal, and the people that comment below are wonderful people. And some of you have subscribed to me on Instagram and sent me friend requests on Facebook. And today Facebook likes to send memories. On this day, 6 years ago, this happened. On this day, 11 years ago, this happened. And they'll usually send you memories like when you were starving or something. 6 years ago, I think it was 6 years ago, this lady that I think she's a record collector, and she might be a DJ on Luxuria.com or WFMU. I don't remember who she was. She's someone that I knew the name, but I was friends with her. I never met her in real life. She put, if you support Trump, I must dump. We obviously have nothing in common if you support Donald Trump. And then she put something else on her page to shame me or something. Because apparently back when about a year before Trump was elected, they came up with something where you could search all your friends' pages to see if they were in any Donald Trump, like a group that likes Donald Trump. And if they were, it alerted you so you could go defriend that person. Total fascism. And then you shame them, you know. It's like then she thought she was being so woke and you know, but it's like the night of the long knives. I shouldn't say that because that's what got Gina Carano taken away from The Mandalorian, and Star Wars is so dead now. The few people that were hanging on to Star Wars because of The Mandalorian could care less now. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for someone that actually watches The Mandalorian now after they did that shit. Bullshit. And I loved Star Wars so much when I was 12 through 18. Star Wars came out the summer of 77, wonderful. And Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Return of the Jedi, 1983. Those were the Star Wars movies. All the rest of this crap. Well, just depressing. I don't like the modern world. Some things about the modern world I like, but most of the things I like about the modern world are things that allow me to access the past better. Like this iPhone and YouTube allow me to communicate with people that like old things and allow me to get my ideas out in a way that I couldn't, you know, before all this. So that's great. But then, you know, YouTube is a very ephemeral thing. In a blink of the eye, they could just wipe out someone's channel 100% for saying the wrong word. It's ridiculous. So let's see what's in this box. I wonder if I've gone through this box before. Oh, look at this Warren magazine, Galactic Wars comics. So, you know, and this is on the back, you know. This is, as much as I love Star Wars, this is when Star Wars kind of started to hurt the world that I loved, because the monster magazines started to, here's the ads in the back that were always for wonderful monster stuff, and famous monsters, creepy, eerie, vampirella. All of a sudden, it's all Star Wars. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, except well, here's still a few monster things. Well, not quite. No, it's all pretty. Those are those Japanese robots, Shogun Warriors. Actually, I think it may be. But what it is it's all these reprints from Creepy and Eerie that are science fiction related. So what they're doing is okay, let's cash in on Star Wars real quick and reprint some of our science fiction-y stuff. But you know, it caused them to reprint some great stuff like Wally Wood, which is why I bought this. back in, when did this come out? Yeah, come on. So, this came out in '77, of course. Oh man, remember these magazines? This isn't the good era. This is the 1980s. Yeah, that's not the good era. Okay. Would you want this magazine, or would you want this magazine? Forgive the Mylar, makes it almost impossible to see it. Or look at this. Snaring the Sex Fiend of Los Angeles. I mean, look at this painting. Wonderful. Even the sleazy magazines, even the sleazy detective magazines, in a certain era, were so much more wonderful with the painted covers. Learn radio, television, servicing, or communications. Here's a good one. Sensation. Let's see here. Here's Master Detective. Beautiful ad on the back. Oh, here's one. When I turned this into a poster, you saw it down in the basement. If you watched yesterday's room tour, down in the pinball room. Arcade, I should call it. There we go. Confidential Detective. Oh, here's some that aren't Mylar. Good. Titter. Being all around He-Man. These are, these don't have nudity in them. They're just, they're pinup magazines. They're completely tame by today's standards. In fact, they're very, I think, very nostalgic. In fact, there's all kinds of people on Instagram that try to look like this all the time. It's not a... Oh yeah, my wife, this is from May of 1950. In fact, it says May 5th, 1950. This pimple ad made me remember. My wife was telling me that there's a new cottage industry in helping people with acne caused by wearing their masks all the time. So apparently there's like 4 or 5 states now that are going to do away with their mask mandate and open everything 100%. What's your BBA? Bachelor's batting average, it says. Yeah, get a little more light. Hold on. I've got the camera on top of a cardboard box with this lantern. Let's see if this is this better. Oh, this is much better. Let's see. Now the magazines look better. Yeah. This is Eiffel magazine. Yeah, they look like this. I don't know if you've ever seen these magazines. It's just this, you know, it's just cheesecake. That's what they called it, cheesecake. Totally innocent. I'm sure that the people that put it out were complete gangsters and criminals and scum, but they're it's still charming today compared to the filth that comes out today. The filth of the past is nostalgic and quaint compared to the filth of today. That's just this is a detective magazine. Yes, that's why it says detective on it. I'm a master of the obvious. Yeah, these should be in another box with my men's adventure magazines. I showed them off a while back. Oh wait, why am I not showing you the inside? There might be some cool stuff in here. There's a Bridget Bardot. You can order Bridget Bardot films. And Anita Ekberg. 200 large glossy pictures of Anita Ekberg. Oh, look at this tape recorder you could get. Sometimes you go through these magazines and you'll see, sometimes you'll see Tina Louise, you know, who played Ginger in Gilligan's Island, or you'll see, you know, Betty Page. You'll see, you never can tell who will wind up in these. Nudist magazines. Shamed by your English? You can soon speak and write like a college graduate if you let me help you for 15 minutes a motherfucking day. Let's be frank. If you've ever been shamed by a mistake in English, maybe I can save you from years of disappointment. You see, none of us will ever go any farther than our ability to speak and write will let us go. I've met countless numbers of intelligent men and women who were being held back in their jobs and social lives, often without knowing it, because they couldn't express themselves fully and easily. Maybe it's illegal, maybe it's outlawed, but with results like this, who cares? What are they talking about? Print's too small. Even just little clip art like that is wonderful, and can be used in, you know, you scan it in or make a copy of it. You can use it for other purposes. And Cars Below Wholesale. Imagine getting a car for that price. For action, security, and big pay, investigate accidents. Wow. Women in Crime. Oh yeah, that's the name of the magazine. Women in Crime. Hey, here's Real Men magazine. Oh yeah. A lot of times, these jungle women, they were a big problem, you know, after World War II. These islands of jungle women. Yeah, guys would sometimes get stranded on islands filled with jungle women. This is one of my favorite ads of all time. And if I could just find one of these. I mean, have you ever seen in all your travels, God damn it, a girl's head mounted? It was only $2.98. How about Joe? Blondes, redheads, and brunettes, for every man to boast of his conquest. Right underneath it, it says conquest. Can you imagine having that on your wall and inviting someone over, like a girl over? The first realistic likeness of the exciting women who play an important part in every man's life. And one of the nicest qualities is they don't talk back. Actually modeled to 3/4 life size of real gals. Oh, it's not life size. These heads are so lifelike that they almost breathe. Saucy, glittering eyes, full, sensuous mouth, and liquid satin complexion, combined with radiant hair colors, give astonishing realism to these rare and unique trophies. Blondes, redhead, or brunette, mounted on a genuine mahogany plaque, is complete and ready to hang on the wall. This was from Honor House Products Corporation, Department MT21 in Lynbrook, New York. Oh, Honor House did the ads in Cracked. Yeah, they like the Cracked horror magazines. Wasn't it always Honor House where you could get your Frankenstein masks? I think it was. So maybe this magazine's put out by the same company that put out Cracked magazine. Look at that. I don't know. I could do that. Well, hold on. It wouldn't be hard to do that. What am I doing? I just wonder if it's the case. Why don't I just look? This is put out. This is June 1959. Stanley Publications, not Stan Lee. Stanley, S-T-A-N-L-E-Y. Is that who puts out Cracked? I just had a Cracked box. I think I put it over there. I'll look it up. And then, even this 1980s magazine is completely politically incorrect. But, this is cool. The next thing I have in the box is service merchandise catalog. Service merchandise used to be in all these states. It used to be attached to the Forum Mall. I done several videos on that. So, first thing you do is you look back at the stereos, right? Actually, the first thing you do is look at the toys. That's where I'm going, trust me. Toys are always in the back. So, Super Chicken. Wonderful cartoon. Sorry, but that last song was very loud. This is my Gratu Orloff radio station, and I just record the songs right off of YouTube until I have 6 hours, over 6 hours of audio on a disc, and then I just let it play and broadcast to every radio in the house on 106.9 FM. Okay, toys. I'm not sure what year this catalog is. 78, 79, so there'll be early Star Wars toys from the first Star Wars movie. Last night my wife and I watched Network. You know, the William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Peter Finch movie. Came out when I was 11 in November of '76. And there's Stretch Armstrong and the Stretch Monster. Great movie. Very apt for our times. There's some fake pinball machines. Or toy pinball machines, I should say. Still have the slot car races and racers in the '70s. Oh, here we go. I have that, and then I have all those figures. And then these are the later period tall Mego figures. Oh man, they still were selling Marx's Fort Apache there, which I'm sure is also politically correct for today's time and would be canceled. Anything else worth looking at? What is this shit? Oh, my father used to have that clock in his real estate office. Yeah, this '70s home decor is pretty cheesy. Yeah, service merchandise. How about that? What else we got? Just a bunch of car magazines, it looks like. So, anyway, my wife ordered this super fancy cheesecake from some place in New York for our anniversary. It's supposed to show up today. Our anniversary was actually yesterday, but she sent it for the wrong day, but that's okay. We'll just celebrate it today. Oh, you know something? This Get Smart framed print for the... This is an advertising poster for when Get Smart was... The thing about Don Adams that's really cool, that, you know, he was a Marine in World War II. He was at Guadalcanal, and he was really, I think, badly injured, and was in the hospital for 6 months or something. And later he was a Marine drill sergeant. Don Adams, Tennessee Tuxedo. Oh, you ever hear on radio Mark Levin, the conservative talk show host? I listened to him and I laughed because he sounds just like Tennessee Tuxedo. And there's some guy on YouTube that does an investment channel. It's called Pimpy's Investment. I know he's got a silly name, but my wife watches this guy, tells you what to invest in and things. He's kind of a conspiracy guy a little bit, I think.